something a little different. It's about dystopia. Why can't we be happy? So this is about all teen novels about kind of dystopia, so kind of like set in the future, and the majority of the time a very bleak future. So I haven't really planned out what I'm going to say. I'm just going to see what comes out really. I read 6 kind of teen YA novels or series about kind of set in the future and in this dystopian world. And I just thought I wanted to chat about them as a group and give you my rating from 1 to 6. Just to let you know what the good ones are. Like there probably is a lot more out there. These are just the ones I've read recently, and you've probably heard of most of them. So in at number 6 is Uglies by Scott Westerfeld, and I've done a review on this and the link is down below. So yeah, it's a very, I think out of all the series I'm going to talk about, it has the most kind of developed future and most kind of we have like great I don't know if it's great, but we have this really kind of advanced technology, and like we have flying kind of skateboards and operations to make everyone beautiful, and yeah, so I think out of all of them it has the most kind of positive future in that we've kind of advanced in our technology. Of course, society is gone crazy, and I think the common theme in all these series is a messed up society. But the majority of the time, the future seems really primitive, like we've gone backwards. Which, I mean, it's a very negative outlook on the future, but I mean, it's to make a novel exciting. Anyway, Uglies, it's okay. It's very bleak. It has good excitement, but it would be my least favourite out of all these. That's not to say it's not good. In at number 5 is Across the Universe by Beth Revis, and this only has 1 novel so far, so it's hard to count it as a series, but it definitely will be a series because there's more, like the ending was very kind of, there's more to come. This series I'll have another review on. Basically it's about a girl who wakes up on kind of a spaceship like hundreds of years in the future and figures out like this, I think out of all of them, the society, this is the most kind of messed up really. She just discovers everything on the spaceship, like the whole group of people, they're only allowed to procreate at certain times, so everyone is always the same age. There's like a bunch of 20-year-olds and say like a bunch of 40-year-olds, and now the new generation is going to be made. Yeah, it's really weird, and it's like a leader, and yeah, so I mean, I enjoy the book. The one thing alright is that each chapter alternates with someone's point of view. So we have a main girl and a main boy, and the main girl is from kind of, I assume our kind of times, maybe a little bit before that, and then the boy is from this future kind of society setting up a spaceship aiming for some planet. So it's quite sci-fi. So that was movie number 5. I enjoyed it, even though I don't really like changing point of view, but I'm looking forward to the next one. In at number 4 is Enclave by Anne Aguirre. So I haven't done a review on this one yet either, and the same as the previous one, there's only 1 book in this series so far. It's called the Razorland series. When I was looking up Anne Aguirre's books, and I read the description of this, I thought it sounded really good, and then I was really disappointed to find out it wouldn't be released for months. So I've been waiting for it for a long time. And then I read her kind of adult series in the meantime, and I was really disappointed by it. The Samantha Jack series, I did a review on that if you want to check that out. At the moment I'm reading her Corinne Solomon series, which was only okay. So yeah, I was kind of disappointed then because I was like, oh, it's probably not going to be as good now. But I was pleasantly surprised because this YA novel was much better than her adult novels. And I really liked it. The characters are really likeable. I really like the main character because she shows this kind of maturity. Like, she's put through a lot, but she doesn't really whine and complain as much as other kind of protagonists. And there's really nice relationships in it. And basically, it's like set in the future again, but we all live underground for some reason. Well, some societies live underground. And again, this is another messed up society where people either are hunters, breeders, or builders, I think. And our main character wants to be kind of like a hunter, and you get scars on your arms, kind of to denote what you are. And yeah, and then she starts to figure out some stuff about the society she lives in that's not good. And we kind of find out what's topside, what's above ground. And yeah, it was really fascinating and interesting, and I really enjoyed it. And like at the beginning, I wasn't thinking much of it, say like the first 2 or 3 chapters. But then I really got into it, and it develops well, and I'm really looking forward to the next one. Okay, in at number 3 is a book I very recently read called Divergent by Veronica Ross, and this is book 1 of a trilogy. And Insurgent is book 2, which will be out next year sometime. But book 1, Divergent, I loved. I thought it was really good. It was perfectly paced and developed, like, you know, it really built up to a climax, and the relationships developed really nicely. Again, I love how when the author just thinks up a totally imaginative world. Okay, so in this kind of premise of the novels, in this society there are 5 factions. So there's abnegation, and they like respect and appreciate selflessness. There's candor, where the people appreciate honesty the most. There's dauntless, and they're all about bravery. There's the erudites, and they love knowledge. And then there's amity, which appreciate friendliness. So you kind of grow up in these factions, and you try to practice each person's kind of oath, or each faction's oath. And when you're 16, then you get to choose which faction you want to join. And some people like to stay with their family and the ones that they grow up with, and some people like to change. And in this series we have Triss, and she has this dilemma. She grew up in abnegation, and I think these have like definitely the short end of the stick, because they appreciate selflessness. So basically they just take whatever's given to them, and they're treated terribly, and they're like, we must be selfless. So it's kind of lousy on them, but she has to decide whether to stay with them or go to another faction. And I just love this whole premise, and it's written really well. I think the author's only like 22, which is really young. And it's not even the fact that there's 5 factions in this world, it's the fact that they have to stick so rigidly to these like societal laws. Like, it's so rigid, and they have to do this, and they're practically brainwashed. And like, society is so segregated, and the ending of the book is so great, and the author, like, she's not, afraid to kind of, make things harsh, or, afraid of death. And like, some parts of the book are really sad, and there's a little personality in there, and I loved it. I was really, really pleasantly surprised by this book, and I can't wait for the next one. I think it's definitely up there with like the top kind of dystopian novels, and I think they got a good reception too. So I definitely suggest checking Divergent out, really, and it's a good length too.